as you know, probably Panic is a 501c3. We're privately funded theater company. We rely on the sales. Thankfully, Simi Valley is very generous in the way they handle their participants, and they have things in place to make it reasonably cost efficient. But as you know, the theater's expensive, so that's one reason on the economic side. The second reason for me is it's just fun. It's a fun way to spend an afternoon. It's a fun, uplifting show. You'll leave smiling. You'll leave singing the tunes, and you'll fall in love with some of these characters. They're really, really good. And I go out afterwards and speak to the audience that remains, and they're shocked at they're like, "Where did you come from? What theater were you at before? What theater are you going to?" We're Panic Production. We're doing 4 weekends in Simi Valley, and we may get somebody that says, "Hey, we'd like you to do it at our theater," but that may not happen. 4 weekends is all we got to bring a little bit of joy to people's lives, and I think that we do that every time we perform. My name is Paul Panico. I'm the producer of Footloose, the musical at the Simi Valley Cultural Arts Center. If you'd like to learn more, listen to this conversation. Number one, Michelle Elkin is brilliant, and her choreography brings this to life. Like, it wasn't the first time I did it. She is a tremendous choreographer. She demands a lot. She gets a lot, and the kids love her. So yeah, it was a no-brainer when I considered it. I was toying with some other options, but Simi Valley is a bedroom community, and I think they're familiar with Footloose. They're familiar with the music, and once they see the dancing, they'll fall in love with that. So I think those are, of course, and Barry's always, one of my number one people to go to as far as directing. He's very specific, and he makes all the scenes better. So yeah, but mainly it's because I knew she could do just an incredible job choreographing it. I did not do this the first time I did the show, but I was reading the writer's notes at the very beginning, and what he said was, this show is not about dancing. This show is about a boy who's lost someone and a father who's lost someone. And he said, replace the word dancing every time you hear it with the word forgiveness. So although there is incredible dancing and some great familiar music, it really is the struggle of parents and their kids and trauma and forgiveness. And so I think that really tells the story about Footloose. It's not earth shattering, but I happen to love the message. I wouldn't change a thing. It's a story that people can relate to. He as I think we all know, he's lost his son in a terrible accident due to an abuse of a controlled substance, be it drugs or alcohol. And he's got another daughter who I probably feel she's a little bit angry and also confused because he's turned not only her life, but the whole town in a way that doesn't suit most teenage kids. And so she's rebelling, and he's confused because he thinks he's doing the right thing. He sings a song about that. Because he's a religious guy, how can he get this town in shape so we don't have this kind of accident again? Because it was horrible for everybody. Small community in, I say Texas, but it could be any small town somewhere, I would guess Midwest. So the beginning, he's under control. You see it start to unwind. His daughter becomes more and more rebellious, and he finally loses it. And to the point where he is so angry that he does things that he would never, ever even consider doing and has never done in his life. And then this young boy, at that point where he's lost control, he has that's heartfelt conversation with this young boy who's come to town, who has experienced similar disappointment and devastation in his personal life. and they have a kind of a meeting of the minds where he senses this, this that he's might have been taking the wrong path, and then there's the redemption. He realizes he hasn't done it the right way. Even though that happens, and there's that moment where he allows dancing to continue, he says to his wife, "I'm still not sure I've done the right thing." So he's willing. He's done what he had to do. He's willing to continue on and change his ways, but he's still not absolutely sure, even though. So there's a lot of conflict in him, but it's a happy ending. It's funny. People always say, "Do you get nervous?" I don't get nervous. It really is. For me, it's like a sport. It's like that little butterflies, but it's not nervous butterflies. It's just that excitement of the and to me, like with this show, it's the joy on the faces of these kids. I love to see the pure joy of them doing what they love. We are lucky because it took a while to find this group, but we've found 20 odd kids who have a genuine joy for theater. They're smiling, they're connected, and we're different ages, but there's a great connection with these kids. That synergy that really, I think, really propels them to a level that people want to see. They are truly happy to be doing what they're doing. So that joy, my first scene is I walk in and I'm facing them. They're all sitting there staring at me, and I look at their faces. I can't help but smile because they're so joyful. I don't know. That's in my little weird way. That's so gratifying to see them do that. And many of these kids, I can assure you, many of these kids are going to go on and do bigger and better and greater things. They're so talented. It's ridiculous. Well, we have co-directors, Barry and Michelle. Maybe you know who Barry is, but he was Duty in the original movie Grease. Has a Broadway career that spans back to when he was 11, I believe. He auditioned for his first Broadway show at 11. Bye Bye Birdie, the original cast of Bye Bye Birdie. He was a replacement for Randolph McAfee. Interesting story, and I think you might be talking to him later. I'll let him tell that story. But then he went on from that to do multiple Broadway shows, national tours of Greece. Interestingly, Barry is amazing in the fact that he dates and times he remembers with great clarity. And it's interesting to tell a story. I've always said I would love to have him write a book because he remembers everything and the connections he's made through the years. And he knows like just about anybody you can name. He's met them or worked with them or had some connection with them. But, like just an interesting story. When he did Grease, the national tour, Travolta was in it, and Travolta played Duty, and he played another role, which was kind of interesting. And he actually has the playbills of all the shows he's ever been in. So I saw Travolta's bio when he did that was his first production. I think that's what Barry told me, his first production or national tour. And then, of course, and I said, "What do you think of John when you met him?" He goes, "I knew he was going to be a star." So, so his stories are phenomenal. You'll get a chance to talk with him. I think you'll find it out. His stories are phenomenal. Anyway, so that's Barry. Michelle, I met. Michelle Elkin was the choreographer several times in shows at 5 Star, and I watched her work, and then I saw her do Something Rotten there, which I thought it's the first time I'd ever seen that show. It was amazing. So we had touched bases from time to time, and she said at some point she would love to choreograph for us. So moving out of the pandemic, Barry and I wanted to revisit 13 the musical. So we wanted it to be a little bit better, than it was the first time. Although it was a great cast, we wanted to do something a little bit different. So I hired Michelle to do that. So that was her first gig with us. After that, and that was coming out of the pandemic. After that, we asked her to do this show, and she's been nothing less than, spectacular. She's very specific, very tough on the kids. They love it, and they work very hard for her. She's inspiring to them, and she's a great teacher. So, and then the other thing that I didn't see, because she added some of the directorial information that she's good at, when we did 13, but she really upped it this time. And she's very, very smart about choices and why she's asking for those choices, which I think as an actor is really great. You know, like if you, why don't I come this way? It doesn't make sense. And this is why. And so she's very good at that. And I was surprised. I didn't see that side of her. So they're a great team and they love each other. I mean, they're like, you know, they're two peas in a pod kind of. I think they work very well together. Now that's an advantage. So that's my guys, my team. Moving past like the director, the choreographer, and the kids who are all great. You know, we have an incredible band. A couple of things, like, because as you know, theater doesn't happen with just a couple of people. It takes a village, so to speak. And we have a band comprised of 5 musicians who have played for me before, once or twice. My musical director, Jeff Gibson, I met in a production of Godspell at a church in Thousand Oaks once, and I've sung in church with him, and he's an amazing man. Aside from the fact that he's a brilliant player, he's an amazing man, very conscientious, you know, works very hard at making it the best he can possibly make it. And that goes with just about every person that's playing with us. We had the luxury of having, on Sunday, we have 2 drummers, one, Katoshi, who we've met along the way, plays in church with us sometimes. But last Sunday we had Dan Gillum, who is a local Simi Valley resident. And I just say, look at his resume and go, holy, that guy has played with everybody. And he was gracious enough for the small fee that we pay to play in our band. So it was spectacular to have that level. And then of course we have people behind the scenes. There's 2 gals, Paige Lauder, who's done our graphics and many of the things behind the scene that are just invaluable. And Allison Mahay. Allison is a young woman who's has a history in theater, but she's actually a talent agent, and she's done many things, innumerable things to help us get this done and getting up and running, and been a total supporter. So, you know, those are the kinds of things that, you know, that you just can't even envision. And then, another really nice thing is at Simi Valley, they're close to a school called Santa Sue, which is a theater arts school and very well known. And we use there's a young man who's doing our sound, who's a graduate from that school. He also is a player, and you know, I think he has a band, but he's doing our sound, done an excellent job. And we have people on our spot, a little Melissa. I've known her since she was a little tiny girl, and now she's all grown up and out of school, and she's running our spot, and all from the community, Santa Sue graduates. And it's so nice to see everybody rallying around and helping. You know, just it goes on. I mean, lighting guy Ian Kelly from another community theater locally done a lot of work, and he did an outstanding job for us. So it's totally fun. It's just nice to see that all come together. Sometimes it's a little nerve-wracking, but it's like when they say it takes a village, it really does. It's just incredible how it comes together, and it somehow always does. Why is it relevant today? Well, I think always, I mean, obviously we always have that struggle as parents to make sure our kids, you know, go down the path that we would like to see them go down. And there are always kids who, you know, make decisions that are not good decisions, and they sometimes get away with it, sometimes they don't. And it leaves, you know, like grieving is for the people who are left behind. You know, it's if you're, you know, I mean, if you believe in a higher spirit, they're gone and in a better place. But we're stuck here remembering them, and that's the hardest part. So, you know, it's protecting ourselves, and you know, when parents are protecting their kids, but they're protecting themselves either, because if something bad happens, you know, they know that, you know, the repercussions of that. So there's nothing worse, you know, for a parent to lose a child. What could be worse? So I think that'll always be relevant. And of course, you know, today we have all kinds of drug issues, which are horrible. So we hope that's never enters into people's lives like it is today, and hopefully it'll change. But you know, it probably won't. So we'll have to deal with this. And this is a show that does deal with a pretty serious, you know, a pretty serious subject. You know, I think it's very, very relevant. My name is Paul Panico. I play Reverend Shaw in the production of Footloose. I've also produced the show. I actually also designed the set and helped build the set, which is an aside, which I love to do, and I hope you like it. Our call to action for this particular production is you will walk away smiling. You will be happy. It's a great show. I've had people say I cried at moments, but I ended up leaving ecstatic, happy, dancing, and just really enjoying the evening. And that's what we want to give to you, is that feeling of, you know, just absolute joy. The cast emanates that, and I think you'll find that as well. See you at the theater.